Hi, welcome back to Master Recaps. Today I will show you a mystery thriller film from 2010 titled Bestseller. The story of a young novelist named Baek Hee-soo, who is becoming famous for her best-selling horror novels. While she was giving a press conference about her new book, someone suddenly called her saying that her novel was similar to one that had been written before. Each of them predicted that Baek was definitely a copycat of other people's work. She was sued for damages and her husband divorced her. Baek and her daughter must escape the humiliation of the story of hiding in the remote countryside by buying an abandoned house from the sheriff here and repairing it as the writing of a new book. Her in hopes of regaining her reputation. But there was something wrong with this house and it gave her goosebumps. Baek's daughter Yeon-hee begins to make friends with her new friend. The strange thing was that Baek didn't even see the friend that Yeon-hee was talking about. Yeon-hee said that her friend lived in this house. Baek started to feel something terrifying and it was perfect for her new writing. Baek's writing began to take shape with the help of her daughter Yeon-hee to communicate with her friend. It was inside this house that what had happened to her. Until Baek learns of the victim's cause of death, that she was murdered and the body was concealed for 20 years, her spirit still lingers in the house with her daughter Yeon-hee as the medium to convey the story. Baek decided to bring this woman's story into her new horror novel. Of course, her novel was published and it received a high response among the fans. It is arguably the most realistic, as if they were in that situation. Baek regained recognition. She was a huge success. Baek and her daughters are reunited with mother-daughter moments. After Baek had to work hard to get what he was today. But at the end of the day, people say that her new writing is a repeat of another that was written decades ago. The novel is not famous or known to the masses, but anyone who has read it will know immediately that it is like every inch of Baek's writing. Baek was heavily attacked and accused of being an unethical writer. Twice and twice copying and impersonating someone else's work is unacceptable in the world of writers. She was immediately fired from the publisher, and although she said that she did not copy anyone's work, she got it from the help of her daughter, who was able to communicate with spirits separately. But in the end, the shocking truth emerges when Baek's husband appears and tells them that their daughter is long dead. Yeon-hee is dead because of Baek's negligence, who is always obsessed and interested in his own work. After the daughter's death, the husband asked to part with her. As for Baek, who has been unable to accept the huge regrets many times in a row, she then imagined and created a hallucination of her own daughter to alleviate her inner pain. No family, no daughter. She had lived in this house alone since the beginning. Upon regaining consciousness, Baek's mother's heart was torn to pieces as she learned that her daughter was dead. Her writings were immediately archived and Baek was sent to a psychiatrist for psychiatric treatment, and despite admitting her daughter's death, but Baek still insisted that she wasn't plagiarizing anyone's work. She decides to go back to the house to find the answers to the whole story and compare the characters in the story with those of the village people. All of them actually existed and the girl actually died inside this house. Her name is Soo-jin. She was secretly murdered in this house 20 years ago. But it wasn't until Baek had finally figured out the truth of the case. Suddenly a group of people broke into her house. But their purpose was not to come to prove the truth like Baek. But they came to cover up the traces. They tried to find the missing corpse of Soo-jin from their original hiding place. Until he met Baek, who was inside this house earlier, where she must face a group of murderers who once killed Soo-jin and disguise her corpse. One of them is her boyfriend, Chan-sik, who joins forces with his friends to create scenarios to coerce and pressure Soo-jin to leave the village because he loves her and doesn't want her run away from him. But this incident took a turn as Soo-jin struggled with all their lives until the four of them succumbed to her death. Meanwhile, Baek's husband, who accompanied his wife to the village, was worried. So he was attacked along with another person. But during the setup, 4 people were about to kill them. They suddenly split up because no one wanted to be a murderer and blamed one another for causing Soo-jin's death. On that day, Baek snatched this moment and ran away to seek help, with Chan-sik chasing after her behind her. In which Baek decided to reverse the car, hit Chan-sik until he was stuck on the wall until he died and got out of the car to ask for help from the sheriff who drove past it. But the sheriff attacked back until he passed out because he was Chan-sik's biological father. The whole story takes place 20 years ago. After the four killed Soo-jin, they disguised her corpse under the floor of this house and fled. The person who first found Soo-jin's body was the sheriff. He knew right away that this was definitely the work of his son Chan-sik. The sheriff has decided to move Soo-jin's corpse out of the house and disguise her even more by drowning Soo-jin's corpse in the water to protect his son's life. 20 years later, everyone had forgotten all about Soo-jin's disappearance until Bak arrived here and wrote a novel that caused everyone to suffer. While the sheriff is about to kill Bak, her husband, who had escaped death, shouted for Bak, causing the sheriff to stun the gun down into the water. Bak grabs a gun and uses it to shoot the sheriff to death. Then her husband succeeded in saving her. The whole story ends with Bak's case being solved alone. Soo-jin's corpse was taken out of the water and the person who committed her murder was punished accordingly. Later, Bak decided to admit that she actually copied other people's works and accepting the results of the Writers Guild. That's the end of the movie. Subscribe for more video like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.